And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Okko is a combat game which is based on a comic book series or a graphic novels series, and it looks actually interesting. They have a few of the comics in the rule books themselves and in the scenario book, and it makes me interested in reading that. It looks like an interesting comic. The game itself is okay. I wish I could give it higher praise than that. It's not bad. It's just, to me, a bit too simple. It's basically combat where you have two forces fighting each other, using not miniatures but cardboard stand-up characters, although you can buy miniatures for this game specifically. I'm assuming fans of the comic will be more interested in the game itself, and there's some really neat concepts here. It's just a bit simple. I didn't really feel like I was able to pull off a lot of different tactical surprises or have any kind of grand strategy when playing. But let's look and see how you play a battle in this game. This is an example of a board that you can put together, and you can put these boards together with different scenarios. The boards are rotatable, you can flip them. This shows you the outside area. And one of the things I really like about these boards, and this is something that I've seen in other simple combat games like Tannhauser, are the fact that even though it has all this nice background and you can see different things on it, basically the board itself tells you what kind of terrain it is. See, these bushes here have a symbol on them which shows that they are hindering terrain. And that's all we need. I don't need to look up and say, is a bush a hindering terrain? No, it is. And some terrain you cannot go through. And then if you can or cannot go through a wall, it's delineated by these red lines. So it's very obvious whether you can or cannot go through certain spots. There's only a few different types of terrain. There's some terrain you can't pass through, like this pot here. And again, you can see it has a symbol on it. And that's something neat about the game. I like how that works. So for players to play the game, they each need to get together a group from their team. Here's an example of a couple of the cards that you can have. There's actually two different teams. There are the Demon Hunters, the red team. I suppose you could call them the good guys. And then there are the evil creatures with the black symbol, and again, the bad guys. Although each team can also take characters with gray. They're neutral. They can go on either side. Now, be forewarned that some of the artwork, while it may be actually hideous in some things, but it also can be fairly gruesome. As you might be able to tell here, this lady is having her spleen ripped out, and that may not be very thrilling for kids to see. But you're picking these characters, and at the bottom of the card, you'll see a few dots, and that shows how many points that character is worth. And you can put these characters in your army. There's also different weapons that you can add that are worth points. And so you can either pick a scenario that has pre-generated characters, or you can pick, a certain amount of points, and then you'll get those characters together. Once you find the characters you want, you'll take the people who are those characters, the cardboard cutouts for them. They have a picture on the front and their name on the back, and you'll place them on the board in their starting positions. Combat's very, very simple. You basically, on your turn, you can move a certain amount of movement points, which you turn, depending what kind of terrain you go through, set up and get ready to attack. And then you roll, and you compare your attack plus a die to their defense plus a die. Very, very simple. But what makes the game interesting are what I would call, or these dice. These are not your normal dice. They're spirit dice, and they have different symbols on their different sides. You can see the different symbols that you can roll with these, and these symbols will allow you to do something on your turn. For example, one of the symbols, the one that I'm holding in my fingers right now, you can put that die on a character to give him +1 to his attack. Or this symbol can give you +1 to your defense. And the symbols do different things, which is interesting because when you look at the cards themselves, you'll see the symbols after attack, defense, movement, and willpower. But then they have special abilities at the bottom. And to use these special abilities, occasionally the special ability might automatically be in play. But for example, if you use that symbol, you can use this guy's special ability, which gives him a shot, which allows him to shoot a ranged attack. And so you have to use these dice and allocate them across to your different characters. You can't allocate more than one die of the same type to a creature, so you can't give someone +4 attack, but you might be able to give him that extra edge when he is attacking, someone who's bigger than he is, or give them an extra movement or extra defense. If you don't like what you've rolled, or you want to keep what you rolled, you can put some dice in reserve, save them for next turn, keep those dice, and use them in the future, on a future turn, not having to roll that turn. But still, the game is still fairly simple. You hit someone, what the game calls, you make them shaken, in which your character is knocked down, or just, their card is turned over. If you notice, these cards have two different sides. They have the red beginning side, or the black beginning side, and then they get turned to the other side, in which they are shaken. And sometimes it makes their stats go down, sometimes they have different abilities, but once you are shaken again while shaken, then you're out of the game, or that character's out of the game. They don't want to say killed, I guess, because in comic book kingdom, you're never actually killed. And when you do a certain amount of things during a mission, then you win the game. There are some neat things about the game. I like the components. Of course, I like modular boards. I like the different characters, even if some of them are a bit gross to use. And the idea is very interesting, the comic. The idea of these spirit dice, being able to apply different symbols to use them for special abilities or to increase attacks, it's neat. And so why do I give the game more of a meh rather than something that's more enthusiastic? And the reasoning behind that is simply just because even though all this is here, in practice the game just kind of, ooh, I move, I attack. You move, you attack. I move, I attack. Oh, look, I hit you. There are other games like HeroScape which give me a much more tactical feel as I'm moving people around and using special abilities, and it seems more exciting. This is more of a, I move, attack, win, you're out. I hit you, okay, I'm knocked down. You hit me again, oh, okay, I'm out of the game. It's just not as exciting. I think it's a good value. The box is very thin. You get a lot inside the box, and some people are going to really love this, although I think even with the darker artwork, I suppose, I think it's going to appeal to younger kids more often, just because it's so simple. Most everyone else, yeah, there's facing and there's some attacks, but other than that, I really, when I'm running down the steps to hit you and you're running up the steps to hit me, there's not a whole lot we can do. I might roll dice that give me extra attack, you roll dice that give you extra defense, whoopee-doo. The special abilities, it's one of those games where it's almost, even building your army, you didn't feel like there was a whole lot difference between the different characters. I'm really not ragging on this game. I don't dislike it, I just don't get very excited by playing it. It's okay, but I'm not going to keep it because there are so many other games that do the same thing, and I think in a much better fashion. But this might be your style of game, but I would certainly recommend trying it out before you buy it.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.